Hello there, Star Wars fans. How's it going? A fascinating 48 hours it has been. A little delayed on this episode, but I'm actually, Holly, kind of glad that we delayed this episode because some big news has dropped just in the past couple days. A few bits of information. We just got our first dose of COVID vaccine, putting us in a COVID haze. No?
Like an anti-COVID haze.
Well, yeah, it's to prevent the COVID haze. That may be a permanent haze. But so a little sore, a little tired, guys. Got up early for a shot. Holly got poked too. Phrasing. Luke's on the books to get his first poke. So we're getting vaccinated here in the Flying Casual family. I hope you guys are too as soon as you can. But Holly, how you doing? I mean, other than the vaccine, I mean, excited for Star Wars?
Hey guys, I'm here.
Let's go.
So
yeah, Holly needs a perk, guys.
If I can
and I don't
be
mean
here,
a Percocet.
well, maybe.
Well, maybe. But some days, guys, you just have to go to McDonald's and get a large Coke, and that's it. Well, and a milkshake. But who's to say that there's no evidence of a milkshake on this table, Holly. So.
Michael's had like 130 grams of sugar, which is probably like 10 and a half times the recommended daily dose.
Oh, yeah. What's keeping me going right now, because we got up at sunrise and went and got the shot, and I needed some Starbucks after that. It's going to be a long day. Give me the Starbucks. That was probably, I don't know, a couple 100 grams, I'm sure, of white lines. I kid. Never done that. But Luke, I mean, how you doing? Some exciting news. Looking forward to talk some Star Wars.
Yeah, this has been one of the most exciting Star Wars few days in a while. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. It feels like we're jonesing for more Star Wars because it's been
I like that phrase, by the way.
Like 3 months since Mandalorian season 2 ended, and it's like, oh god, I don't know if it's partially the COVID era. Everything feels elongated and feels like it was forever ago, even if it was just a few months ago, or if it's just the sort of craving we have nowadays and what we expect to be mainlining. More Star Wars, and we're ready to go for
the books.
Some of the next couple months here.
The books have kept us busy, but this was a surprise. I was too out of it to do a reaction. It would have just been this. Wanted to do a reaction on the trailer, but my friends watched it without me, so it would have been a lonely reaction, just me doing a legitimate reacting. So Luke, no, it's cool, it's fine. You know what? That don't even include me in the text next time.
Luke texted and was like, "Bad Batch trailer," but I had already watched it. Yeah. By the time I got his text message,
that's fine.
And then I was like, "I'm gonna watch it again." So I watched it twice.
Yeah.
And then Michael came out and he
comes
was
out
like,
all pumped.
He was like, "Do you want to do a reaction to the Bad Batch?"
On the lunch break, let's go. And Holly just felt so bad like she had to let me down easy.
I was like, I already watched it twice.
Yeah.
He was not happy.
Slam on me. That's fine.
But
just trying to just garner some traffic to the channel. It's fine. But
the third reaction's the charm, though. So
True. You get a lot of shit if your reaction isn't eye bulging and faking it.
And if you
we just react just kind of like normal people. But
well, they have to be like over the top to get like 2,000 views. But
I know.
Or you have to have a clip art of you looking terrified about something for people to click on it to watch.
Well, the annoying thing is these people take clips of things that it's not even them reacting. It's like a clip art that they use just for everything. And I think I've done one where I was just like shocked, and that was it was Fallen Order or the Rise. I can't remember which one it was, but I actually took clips of myself just to be like, what is happening? But
I do. Yeah, I love it when people take, like, the video will be like, like feeling sad after the final Mandalorian episode, but then like the clip art is like the girl like reading a magazine and like she's like, "Oh my god," and I'm like, that has nothing to do with your video.
Or they just spoil the hell out of the episode in a piece of clip art. That happens a lot. But what are you gonna do? So sometimes your friends, betray you and watch a trailer without you, and then you just watch it lonely and
slam.
And I'll tell you guys, I watched it a couple times. First time, couldn't hear a lick of it. I don't know if the bass was up on the soundbar.
I told Michael, I
happening?
said, you need to put the subtitles on. He's like, subtitles?
I couldn't understand Tarkin. Couldn't understand a lick of what he was saying. Then we put the subtitles on, and I was like, Omega. Like, who's that? But we'll talk about it.
Okay.
He's speaking the Queen's English,
I
mate.
know. He is. That's a great Tarkin, too. I was a little confused on the time. We're going to talk about it. We'll get to it in a second.
Okay. What are we talking about, Michael?
I don't know.
Oh, crap.
Not a lot's happened lately.
Thanks for joining, guys. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for checking out our talk of reactions here on Flying Casual. No, that is what we're talking about, guys. We're talking about that trailer that dropped today, a big surprise, a nice long 2-minute trailer. And we're also going to get into that Obi-Wan Kenobi news. You can confidently and in the affirmative call it news because Lucasfilm actually released it, got out ahead of things and said, here's our cast. And I freaking love that. They need to do that in every series. I think that's a smart decision, and it takes out a lot of the kind of, I don't know, ridiculous kind of, I love speculation, but sometimes we go down rabbit holes of stuff that's just kind of crazy. So I'm down for talking about the actual castings and who may be playing what. But yeah,
I just feel like,
come on, get it all. Yeah, get it out.
They came out with the cast.
Yeah.
They didn't say it was the full cast.
Didn't say it's full cast.
But I just know how Star Wars fans are.
Yeah.
And they're just going to be like, okay, this is great. And Hayden Christensen's coming back.
Yeah. But
cool.
is he? It's like,
But then they're going to be like, but who's the big appearance?
Yeah.
Like, who's the big special character? Because they're so used to getting these giant cameos that are like so shocking and revealing that I just feel like they're going to be.
I think we had a whole episode about this.
Yeah, I'm sure we did.
Absolutely.
It just never fails because every time I get on Twitter, everyone's like, even with the
the
Bad
dumpster
Batch,
fire of the universe.
I know.
Yeah,
even with like the Bad Batch,
Yeah.
they were talking about like who's going to be like a big surprise like character that's going to come in.
Boy.
I'm like, why do you need that?
We'll talk about, there was actually some things that I thought they may not actually show, but they did. Well, we're going to get to that.
Okay.
So yeah, guys, we were talking about that cast release. It was nice to see that and what we think could happen. Maybe we'll turn to some text here and refer to some comics, may give us some insight as to what we're going to see. But let's first talk about that trailer. Holly, when I came out from my dungeon learning of the trailer, and, you know, was so pumped and hey, let's watch this. And you seemed, you know, really bummed out that you had to break to me that you'd already seen it. But your response when I asked you, what did you think? I was surprised because it was a good response. You're like, I actually really liked it. So what did you really like about it?
Oh, I just thought after the first trailer, it was kind of just like, I mean, it'll be cool, but it's going to be a kid's show. Yeah. It's another animated show, which they're fun. I love Rebels, one of my favorite, piece of my heart.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like the clone story, people kind of get bored with. And I think maybe I've been a little influenced by that. And I'm like, I don't know if I really like care about this story that much, especially because I don't feel invested in the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
But I feel like this second trailer had a lot of action in it. And I think that it actually will give some cool backstory about like the rise of the Empire that we, from a perspective that we didn't necessarily get anywhere else, which is kind of another point of making a TV show for a story that we already know. It's just a different perspective, but I think that would be cool. And I'm all for the new characters, so I think that would be really fun too. But I just think, I don't know, it just like had a lot of action. It seemed a little funny, but also serious and in a good way, not in a way that's kind of like, wow, we're going to ruin your night.
Yeah.
Or like, we're going to be funny in parts that feel forced. It felt very natural in the interactions that I saw between the characters on there, given what we know about them from the Clone Wars. Yeah. Plus, it was kind of surprising to me to see Tarkin right off the bat in that trailer.
Yeah, agreed.
But
that was unexpected for me. I mean, should it be? Probably not, but like him being kind of the big baddie makes sense to me, just because he is a really awesome bad guy that we just haven't had a lot of in Star Wars, and this seems like a perfect fit, especially for that time period. You can kind of see this menacing Tarkin grow, and this ruthless individual may see some sides of him we've never seen before. We've only kind of read about those sides of him. And you're right, the sizzle reel several months back was too much action. I'm gonna say too much action. I had no idea what the hell was going on. It could have been stock footage from Clone Wars. It made no sense to me. Couldn't tell what was happening. And then this made a lot more sense. I saw Tarkin initially, and I was like, wait a second, are we like going back in time, and then we'll kind of lead up to?
That's what I thought.
But I mean, he's in his Imperial garb, so it's we're kind of post Clone Wars at that point, and
yeah. I don't know, because then I just had a bunch of questions. I'm like,
Absolutely.
I'm sure that they'll answer.
Absolutely.
And number one being, how the hell did they get back? Like the last we saw the Bad Batch, they were like, see ya, we're taking Echo and we're leaving, and now all of a sudden they're like getting tested by
Tarkin.
Yeah.
Lots of questions. Luke, did you enjoy this one? Did it meet expectations? Did it leave you with some burning questions?
Got me excited and counting down the days for May 4th for this thing to drop. 70-minute premiere. I don't know if you guys caught that little tidbit of information. Yeah. So, we're getting it's like a 3-episode premiere, basically, if you think of the Clone Wars shows being like the 20-some minute shows. I'm wondering right now, I might have to start taking bets. The over-under, how many episodes will it take for me to not find Wrecker so amusing? The big bulky dude of the Bad Batch Clone Force 99. I got a real kick out of him in the season 7 Clone Wars episodes of the Bad Batch. So I'm kind of known among some of my friends for liking and enjoying really stupid slapsticky humor. So the over-under could be very high. So, everyone in the Facebook group, start getting your bets in. I don't know who's going to set the line for us, but it could be high. But so, I'm excited to see where they're going with this. Just to great to see some familiar faces and to see how it interact with this group. Tarkin, as we've been talking about, he, I think, is probably starts to be much more ascendant in control in the Empire, phase of things after Order 66 and after Palpatine takes control. So I think what most of the trailer probably only showed us things from the first episode, probably the first half of the first episode, so they don't usually reveal too much. Like if you look at the Mandalorian trailers, most of the footage comes from the first episode or two they don't give away too much. And it was nice to see Saw Gerrera interacting with them. So they're going to hook up with Saw in some way. Fennec Shand from Mandalorian. I think voiced by Ming-Na Wen, who played her in The Mandalorian as well, which is great to see that continuity. I don't think it was Forrest Whitaker doing Saw Gerrera. Did you guys think it was Forrest Whitaker?
I didn't.
I didn't recognize it, so it really didn't sound like him.
It didn't sound like him. He did the voice for Rebels, though. He did do those Rebels episodes that Saw was in. And then this new character who appears to be a female clone of Jango Fett, this Omega. Yeah. That seems to be our core cast for now until we see otherwise. But like you guys were mentioning, there's always going to be the speculation about who else is going to show up. I think there's a strong likelihood of Ahsoka at some point, not in a huge way, but in a small way. We saw Rex in the trailer very briefly as well. Yep. So it's just great to know that we're going to be grounded enough in what we know as we explore this sort of new area for TV or film Star Wars. There's been a lot of more comics and books and things kind of in this era, really close to Revenge of the Sith, post Revenge of the Sith. But we haven't had much in the way of a show or a movie right in that time frame. So it'll be nice to see.
I was a little surprised, I think. We knew Fennec Shand was going to be a part of this from the imagery that they'd shown of her in this series. We knew that was happening. I think a lot of us assumed Rex would be a part of this, but I was a little shocked that we even just saw a glimpse of him, and I thought it'd be kind of cool, making an appearance, not really being sure if we're going to get any Rex, because he's got to find his other two friends at some point. How are they is that going to be a separate story, or is that going to be kind of Ahsoka, story with him and the other clones. I can't remember their names at this point. But the two that he ends up with in Rebels.
Who Wolf and...
Well, who was the other? Luke, I don't remember who.
Gregor.
Yeah. So whether we'll get that story here, I don't know. It seems like it could fit. But the big surprise to me was Saw Gerrera. I thought that was super cool, and I'm really glad that you guys are reading Rebel Rising right now, because you're gonna start seeing a darker Saw Gerrera here, and it's gonna blend in nicely with that Rebel Rising material. Holly was kind of shocked. She was telling me some stuff that she had read today, and was just like, "Wow, he's kind of turning a real dick."
Yeah, you guys, save it for the book club. But I will say this is kind of embarrassing, but also maybe not, because I haven't made it all the way through the Clone Wars yet. Maybe I'll do that before May 4th. Yeah. But everyone was like, "Oh, it was so cool to see Saw in the trailer," and I was like, "Well, dummies, I watched it twice and I did not see him at all."
Yeah.
And then Michael was like, "No, this is," because I didn't recognize his voice, and then B, I just didn't recognize him. But then Michael was like, "That's the Saw from Clone Wars.
He's more
of the Clone Wars Saw." And I was like, "Well," and he was like, "You haven't gotten to it yet."
Which I don't think Forrest Whitaker actually voiced Saw at that point. I think it was someone else. No. So maybe that's the same.
Yeah, that was long before Rogue One was a thing and he was cast in the role.
So maybe we're bringing in that same guy. I don't know, but I was a little surprised by that. But the best part of the trailer was his little speech talking to the clones. Like, I never expected Saw to run into these, the Bad Batch. It makes sense because they may be on the same side of history here, but what a perfect character to say, if you don't adapt, basically you're going to get killed.
Yeah.
That's what he's had to do time and time again, things he's lost, and this way just isn't, we're just not, we're not doing enough. Like, we're just not doing enough. We need to be more extreme. He's had to adapt all this life, especially after losing his sister. So, and, trying to save their home world and then fight the Empire. Like, he is just the perfect representation of that. And it made so much sense that I'm like, yeah, no brainer that he's in this show. And you tease that, this is the story that these clones, because we all kind of assumed they have to find their way in this world. And who better to really put them in their place and say, you're going to have to get your hands dirty. The old ways are gone. You guys are alone now. So I thought that was super awesome. It just makes a lot of sense.
What struck me as really surprising about the trailer, and I'm curious if you two had this thought. This series was announced about the time that season 7 was kind of wrapping up last year, I think, of the Clone Wars. So the announcement's been with us for close to a year, and it was left ambiguous this entire time about whose side the Bad Batch was going to be on at this point. And I thought everything I had heard and seen up until now, they hadn't answered that question. So I thought maybe it was going to be part of the show that you would find out, do they stick in the Imperial age of things, in the Imperial ways, or do they break off now that it's the Empire and not the Republic anymore? So I kind of thought they would leave that. Maybe you would watch them make that decision in the show, which we probably still will to some degree. But I was surprised that the trailer just flat out and came out and showed you that Tarkin wants to eliminate them, and so they have to run for it. So they're like definitely broken off from the Empire and on their own. Did you find that surprising at all that was revealed in the trailer?
I did. Ollie, I want to get your thoughts. I was kind of, because in my mind, I don't know why, like, Order 66 happens, and in my mind, everyone's picking a side at that point, right? Like, the clones turn, that's obvious, but these guys, I thought it'd be like, wait, we got to get out of here. But it seems like some time passes after the order is given. They kind of go off with Echo. We don't really know. Maybe they had another mission or something. I don't know what it was. Or maybe they got like some R&R, like the Republic's like, cool, awesome job. Go rest up. Go to the island. I don't know. Go to Scarif or something.
Go to the island.
Yeah, sit on the beaches of Scarif and hang out.
Hang out at the beach.
But I was a little shocked, but it looks like time has passed. That Tarkin scene, I too thought, oh my God, we're going back in time. But I mean, am I wrong, Luke? Isn't Tarkin wearing his Imperial garb there, right?
Yeah, but that visual like look starts to transition during the Clone Wars.
Yeah,
So I
that's
don't
true.
necessarily mean that. I don't think that definitely shows it's a post Order 66
Yeah.
scene. Because I think if you look at when Tarkin showed up in the Clone Wars too, there's the episodes where he goes with Anakin to infiltrate that Citadel prison thing. And I think he's wearing a similar uniform at that
True.
point. So the Republic military has had kind of that look a little bit as
That's
well.
true.
So I don't think it was too much of a transition for the sort of Imperial style uniform. They started to kind of look that way and continue to look more and more that way as the Clone Wars progressed. So yeah, it's interesting at the timing of that scene. I think that might be a scene that takes place before like Order 66, Revenge of the Sith, that sort of training scene we see. But you couldn't tell for sure from
That's true.
the trailer.
We did when Holly kind of we put a pause on Clone Wars, but it was that the Ahsoka kind of betrayal. She leaves the Order episode, the little 3 episodes there, and the imagery of just like looked like just like Nazi Germany almost, with the propaganda and just the way that the scene was set. You're just like, okay, an empire is building. You can definitely, so you're absolutely right, Luke. It just, but I can see like, these guys, like Tarkin makes a point. Hey, they kind of don't take orders well and stuff, but they tend to take direction, right? I mean, they go on these missions with the Jedi and stuff, and they end up improvising a lot and doing their own thing, but generally it feels like they're accepting the orders. So I can see Order 66 happening and them kind of being like, wait, what's going, wow, this is great. The Jedi, really? I mean, okay, but then maybe they start to learn shortly after, maybe we're on the wrong side of things and we got to get out of here. I'm thinking even maybe they go to Camino to try to get some answers, and things maybe go wrong there. It seems like that scene could have been where they're like, we got to get the hell out. Holly, what are your thoughts on like
maybe
where the clones are at this point?
I don't know.
The Bad Batch, I should say. We know where the clones stand, but
yeah, maybe they don't pick a side. Like it doesn't. They don't have to pick a side. They can just be trying to get away from Tarkin's attempt to destroy them.
Yeah.
And on that journey, they just meet other people and help them with things. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to pick a side, but they're doing things in the galaxy at the same time that other things are happening. And eventually I think they probably do. That path takes them somewhere else away from the Empire, but I don't think that's necessarily meaning that they're like, man, the Empire did some bad things and now we're going to go find the people who are rebelling against it.
Yeah.
I think that there's I don't feel like that's where the story is going at.
It's just a matter of survival at this. But like they see some things are like,
I think
what?
so.
We got to get the hell out. Like our own people are hunting us now. Like we know we're kind of rogue, but like that's never been a thing. So yeah, it's just a matter of survival. And then like Saul says, hey, he'll probably just say get in the fight or
because
expect
I
to
think
be crushed.
You can kind of argue that Saul doesn't really pick a side either, because he like doesn't agree with everything that the rebels are choosing to do, and he definitely doesn't agree with anything that the Empire's choosing to do. But like he's gonna do it his own way. I don't necessarily think that he's like picking a side either. He's just trying to do what he thinks is right to get to his end game. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I mean, he doesn't really fall in place in any of those sides either. So it seems to me like if the Bad Batch is going to be meeting him, they're not necessarily going to be like, wow, Saul, like, you're really extreme. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, it seems like they're going to have some stuff to figure out. It was kind of cool. You saw some separate shots of like Hunter out like on a speeder. He doesn't have any armor on. It looks like I don't know if he's just taking a night drive through like Coruscant or something, but it looks like maybe they all kind of go their separate ways.
What if they shed their armor because it's very easy to identify them? Yeah. I don't know. They're clones, so they're easy to identify anyway.
But I don't know. We'll see where that goes. Now, Luke, you mentioned this Omega individual, this youngling. Holly, it strikingly looks like a young Boba Fett from Camino. the animated Boba Fett that we saw.
Yeah, it made me think of that episode with Mace and Boba. Some of the expressions. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She's got some blonde hair though. She has that accent that we're used to hearing. What do you make of that? It looks like they're on Camino at times. We see the Kaminoans, the cloners. Who is this little gal? Is she kind of another Boba Fett, so to speak? Like, not necessarily a clone, but like has the same genetic makeup as those guys, but is just something special that they were creating, or a force sensitive, or something different, right? It seems like she maybe is just kind of looking for a family, like, the Bad Batch have come together, being outsiders. Maybe she could be a new member.
I thought that when I watched the trailer, I did think that there was a resemblance to young Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I also think that these TV shows have a very distinct style of creating human faces.
Yeah,
and so true. I was like, I mean, that could just be the style of how these animators create these characters, and maybe it's not intentional. I know it sounds weird because we've always said that everything's intentional with these shows.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could be wrong, but at first I was like, oh yeah, looks similar. But then after that, I was like, doesn't necessarily mean that.
Yeah.
But I truly don't know.
She's got a cool bow thing.
The bow is
she
sweet.
Seems to be kind of a fighter. Luke, do you have any idea who this person is? Could be a huge key to the show.
Yeah, I get what Holly's saying. I mean, everything sort of fits the motif of the show, so there's similarities amongst all the visuals to a certain degree. But I think there's some shots you see where it very much looks like they took the graphic model of young Boba Fett, who's got this really kind of like baby face, rounded cheek thing going on, and this like little punky look to his face, and just put like blonde hair on that. There's a couple shots where it really lines up, and so I think it almost certainly is a female clone from Jango's DNA, but definitely the biggest curveball surprise of the trailer for me. Like I said, we expect to sort of see characters we know from this era appear and come in and out of the story a little bit, and we've talked about those. But this character, we know nothing, and the biggest question is why? Why, if it is a clone of Jango, a female clone, why does she exist when all the other millions of clones are just sort of direct copies in being one male clones and being just straight up Jango clones outside of like the abnormalities that the Bad Batch represent. So the backstory about why she was created is something we're gonna, I imagine, have to find out in the show, but we're left with almost no information to go on at this point. So yeah, real head scratcher. Really intrigued about what's going to happen with her. I know when some people see like a little kid character, they get worried. They don't want to see like a little kid type character. But I think if you look at the young Boba Fett episodes of the Clone Wars, I think they did a good job with him. And we, in Ezra and Ahsoka, we grew to love and see them grow as they age and everything. So I don't think anyone should be worried about that, about it being like too kiddie, just because there's a kid character involved. So I am really intrigued and just confused and left a bit baffled by that character reveal.
I want to kind of piggyback off of what Luke said, because that's like something that kind of does bother me, is that when there are kids in shows and people immediately like write the show off, but you're talking about Star Wars. You're talking about children who have had to grow up fast enough to be like, I have to act like an adult even though I am a 12-year-old child in the galaxy. Yeah. And I feel like the children are very much a part of the big future of Star Wars, because they're the ones who are going to grow up to be the Jedi. I mean, we had Anakin in the prequels and he was a little baby child. Yep. And like he was a crucial part of Star Wars. I mean, the most crucial part of the Star Wars stories that we know. And so I just hope that people don't come into this thinking like, oh, this is going to be like a childish show as opposed to a show with a child in it, because I think that there could be a lot of good messages, and I think that there can be some really great, scenes, and I'm excited for that, because the one thing that the Clone Wars had was just, it's the Clone Wars, a lot of war, a lot of big action like that, a lot of very serious themes, but probably not super relatable for kids. And ultimately, we are talking about an animated show that's made for children. It's not an animated show for adults like Archer or something like that would be. And so, they got to balance it, and I think that is going to be good.
Yeah, she's going to serve to tell that Star Wars cookie cutter mold story, right? Like, kid on this world, probably never been off Camino, just like Luke and Tatooine, just like little Anakin and Tatooine, just like Ezra Bridger and Lothal, kind of serving that, no matter where you come from, you can do amazing things. And that's the inspirational story that captivates kids every time they tell it. Yeah, you're kind of getting that with the Bad Batch of like finding purpose and stuff, but you're still going to get that kid you're going to follow who got off. This kid seems like they got a heart of gold, right? They're like, how do you know? She's like, I know every single one of you. Like, names them all, goes down the list, and then how can I help you? And that kind of end scene, you see her kind of sitting back, looking like she's going through a starfighter, just shooting into hyperspace, and her eyes are lit up. It just, it's serving that purpose, and I think it's going to be interesting. There could be some big drops. Like, where does she come from?
I think that something that we've seen, we've talked about it extensively with the Rise of Skywalker. It was referenced in The Mandalorian. Like, we know that Palpatine's got his little peeps out there trying to clone, and he has his own ulterior motives for having clones and stuff. So I don't think, we know that he has a granddaughter later down the line. So I don't think that it is too far-fetched that for some reason someone would encourage some testing of some clones for purposes other than creating soldiers.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And another thing, just like Boba Fett, right? Like, we saw Fennec Shan. She looks a little more evil than when we last saw her in The Mandalorian. So maybe she's not exactly a good person at this point. Maybe she is tasked with going and finding the Bad Batch as a bounty hunter or something. Maybe Boba Fett is also tasked, and they run into each other, and you might see kind of a Cara Dune, Din Djarin fight and become great friends. I don't know. That could be something like that. Boba finds out he's got a long-lost sister. I don't know.
Well, and then later we get the Book of Boba coming out, right? So
is she hanging out with them there on Tatooine? Wouldn't that be cool? Maybe
Del Rey told us everything has a purpose.
Everything's connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why there's a lot there. It's kind of ambiguous as to what the story is going to be told, but you can kind of piece some things together. So it's surprising. The name of the Omega. What does Omega mean? I don't know. I just remember, Omega was a big part of Smallville.
The end, right? To some degree.
The end of the cloning process. Maybe this is our end goal, was to build this, create life that could do these sorts of things. Maybe that was the end goal, the end. I don't know. I like that, Luke. She was the perfect creation, maybe.
She has some special features of some sort, some special attributes.
She's got a jetpack built into her back or something. That'd be crazy. But I think there could be some cool connections. And you're right, Holly, the Book of Boba Fett, this could get us ready for that, right? I think that's awesome. So any other thoughts about the trailer? I'm way more excited, I'll tell you that, than I was before, because the sizzle did nothing for me. The Bad Batch were fun, and when Luke posed the question several months back, when the Clone War ends, like, what the hell happens to these guys? Well, we're gonna find out, and now I'm more excited for it, because I wasn't really sure where we were gonna go. But
I am, and I think other people are talking about this too. I'm kind of surprised that it's going to be released on Fridays, because Disney Plus has some other shows that are a little bit bigger than this one, I think, that are also being released on Fridays.
Yeah.
So I think that it's odd that they're not picking different days of the week to release the shows on.
Yeah.
Well, eventually they're going to ramp up their content production. before before we started the podcast tonight, I was in the living room with my wife, and she spent 20 to 30 minutes going to Netflix, into Amazon Prime, into Disney Plus, and just flicking through and seeing, I want to watch something.
Yeah.
What do I watch? There's so many things. And like when you go to Netflix, tons and tons of Netflix original content coming out all the time. So there's stuff overlapping, being released at the same time in big batches. And, you know, Disney Plus has had kind of a slow ramp up on original content, I would say, compared to some of these other services which have been around longer. So we were used to like, oh, there's a new Mandalorian on Fridays, and it's the only new thing that there is on here. Or there's a new Clone Wars, or there's a new WandaVision, and it's like it's the only new original content that's premiering on the streaming service. But eventually they're going to be at Netflix level of production and just be rolling things out all the time. So yeah, the fact that I imagine you're referring to the Winter Soldier.
I love when Luke tries to reference Marvels. It's the best.
It's going on right now. Falcon attack, the winter snow.
Falcons with lasers on their heads. It's a thing.
But yeah, we're just gonna get to a point where they're going to be, you know, busting out enough new content that there's going to be and multiple things at once. And I guess Friday's just going to be the day for new things. So if you're watching all these different shows, Friday you can sit down and watch a few hours of new stuff.
Or good luck avoiding the spoilers until you actually have time to watch them all.
That's what I'm afraid of.
I know.
They're just going to ruin everything. Because Loki is coming out. Luke, that's another Marvel property coming out. And there's a lot of hype for Loki. So you have a pretty short window for the Bad Batch before Loki starts. Loki, I think, is expected. I mean, Loki could go multiple seasons. This, if you're saying we're getting a 70-minute opening, is that indicative of how the rest of the episodes? Or could we just get 6 episodes in that time period and that's it? And they're just longer? Or, you know, that drops off, Loki picks up? Because like Luke's saying, eventually they're going to have to cross some material, but those big flagship shows and the 2 main properties, they always want to be at the top of the streaming. They've set a precedent now. They're saying every new flagship property of Marvel and Star Wars is going to be the leading stream. So if it's going to start competing within itself, is that going to look great? Are we going to start then, you know, competing over, you know, priority here? I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
It would be nice if they're going to release stuff on the same days. They would be like, I'm like stuttering.
It's COVID. COVID vaccine.
They'll be like, okay, the Bad Batch is going to premiere at 7 p.m. on Fridays. That's Eastern time. And then at 9 p.m., we'll stream the next episode of whatever Marvel show is out. But they won't buffer them like that. Like they don't do it like they do on TV. They just want to release everything at midnight Pacific time.
Hate it.
Well, maybe they'll change it. That's a good point, Holly. I think it would make sense if they do get to a level where they have so many new stuff. Yeah, why not do like every day of the week a new thing? So like, why not have Bad Batch on Thursdays if Loki or whatever Marvel product is on Fridays? Yeah, for sure. That would make sense to me, but who knows what's going on in Disney marketing on that decision? I don't know.
Don't get me wrong. I probably got enough PTO to take the next, you know, every Friday for the next year, probably. So if I have to take the day off to catch up on my stories, I sound like my grandma or something now.
Your stories.
Yeah, you know, they call the soap stories. I love that. Catch up on my story. Then I guess that's what I'm going to have to do. But, yeah, it's exciting. I mean, boy, May the 4th. What other surprises you got out there, Disney? I mean, May the 4th is going to be big. 70 minutes, Bad Batch. I'm down. And then maybe we pop on a little Battle for Endor after that.
Wait, guys, I have a question.
Yeah.
Do we know in 2 days, are we getting the Ewok stuff on Disney Plus?
Silence from Lucasfilm. This is either an April Fool's joke, and we are all the fools, or this is going to be some of the biggest news in Star Wars in, I want to say, decades.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
You have May the 4th. That's like a huge Star Wars holiday, but you're only coming out with one TV show.
Yeah.
You think 70 minutes is going to satisfy Star Wars fans? phrasing.
Yeah.
But
what? God, I would hope. We're all just a set. That's a lot, Holly.
But I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just feel like the Bad Batch is gonna be cool on May the 4th. But like,
Yeah.
I feel like Star Wars, you have the streaming service. Is that all you? That's all you.
Is that
got?
all you can do in a pandemic?
Like
you
Wrecker said, is that all you
freaking
got?
babies? Yeah. Wrecker. God. Yeah.
Luke, did you laugh when you saw that part in the
I did
trailer where he's
giggle
like screaming
hard.
at Tarkin?
Oh yeah,
Credit more for me.
some classic wrecker.
Gosh.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm still nervous that that's not a legit thing because I don't think it's been announced on any official Disney or Lucasfilm channels that our beloved Ewok adventures are definitely coming to Disney Plus.
It's gonna be heartbreaking if it's not happening because it's everywhere.
I know somebody is laughing right now, and they're like,
Yeah.
it's probably like
Kathleen Kennedy. That's who's laughing.
Kathleen Kennedy. Yeah, it probably is. She like made a fake tag on Twitter, and then she was like, "Oh my God, did you guys hear?
Did you guys hear?
They're gonna release this on Disney Plus."
Yeah.
She's maniacally
Scoop.
laughing.
Yeah. You think I ruined Star Wars? Just wait for this surprise.
It's probably
Anyway.
some like 12-year-old child who's like, "My dad won't stop talking about these Ewok movies. I'm gonna get his hopes up and post about it on Twitter," and then it just like blew up.
Oh, seriously. That's probably how I went down. He's like, I'm sick of watching these stupid DVDs that my dad puts in all the time. And no, guys, we're not talking about Luke Elder and his kids, though he is popping those DVDs in every once in a while.
Hey, I saw someone on Facebook Marketplace selling the Ewok movies.
You did.
On DVD.
I don't believe them.
$15. Michael looked at the
Yeah.
cover and he was like, "That's not real."
I don't believe it. I think they pulled that picture from Google. I don't think they actually have it. You show up and they got I don't know, just stupid laser discs.
They wanted to charge $8 for shipping and $15 for the movie.
Get out of here.
Get out.
I'll wait for it to be streamed, or we've all been fooled.
That
Either way,
shipping is $6.95. It's not $8.
Yeah, dicks. Yeah, but so that's exciting. Now, really quickly to wrap up this conversation about the Bad Batch, is it really just going to be this group of guys sticking together and fighting evil, and they all are gun-ho at the end of this, or they all die, whatever it is? Or could there be some inner turmoil? Seeing Hunter kind of off by himself, I just kind of feel like maybe the band breaks up or like someone betrays them. Luke, were you getting any vibes of betrayal at all? I mean, I think that would make this story a little more interesting. We're not so attached to these guys. One of them could go rogue. Maybe the chip works or he's just a dick. Like Crosshair's kind of a douche. But Hunter kind of goes off and does, like, hey, Leonardo left the Turtles. Pretty much in every Turtles story that's ever been told, goes off, does his own thing, thinks he's better than everyone. And sometimes Raph just has to step up and run the team, save New York by himself. So it wouldn't surprise me. Maybe Hunter goes off. I don't know. Like, could there be some betrayal that would make this a little more interesting than just these guys fighting the Empire?
Oh.
Yeah, well, when you think of the Clone Wars, it was all these sort of self-contained stories in these 3 and 4 episode arcs for the most part. I mean, yeah, it was taking place in the overall progression of the war itself. You would see the characters develop over longer arcs and see them change, and you'd see Anakin move towards his downfall in Revenge of the Sith in certain ways would be hinted at, or you'd see Ahsoka's growth and maturation as she became more confident as a Jedi. But the plot was more contained to like these shorter arcs. It wasn't like there was one really continuous thing plot-wise going through the whole series, other than, like I said, the war is going on throughout. So what I'm left wondering is, we don't know how long this is. Is this like a one-off mini-series and it's not going to be multiple seasons? Or if it's multiple seasons, like what is the longer arc of the whole show? To me, having Saw shown in the trailer, showing that they are betrayed themselves by the Empire, basically, hints strongly to me that they will in some way be involved in the nascent formation of the rebellion, because we know Saw is connected to that, although he has his disagreements with other leaders in the rebellion, that he's connected as a part of that. I would expect to see Bail Organa at some point, probably. We know Ahsoka's involved in that, so if she shows up, that would make sense. So to me, it's leaning towards that as sort of the where is the show overall going in the plot in the bigger universe of Star Wars. But if it's not going that direction, I really have no idea. Maybe it's just, let's just have some fun adventures with these interesting characters. And that might be a little disappointing. I don't want to get too into the on the side of the conversation we had about WandaVision in that article that was really great about wanting all the connections and not just enjoying the story you're getting and the characters that you're seeing go through the story. But to some degree, I think it's going to connect in some way to sort of the era that we see the start of the rebellion as the Empire is ascendant.
Definitely. Yeah. For me, I still don't trust Echo. I'm sorry that the end of the Bad Batch, I did not set well. I did not believe him. I'm sorry. I love him, but I didn't believe him. I don't think he's healed. I think he's jeopardized.
Michael says, "I love you, Echo.
Love you, but I hate you. We're gonna have to take you out. Hunter's gonna have to take you out."
Oh my God, Crosshair.
There's gonna have to be some drama. I know kind of reference the turtles in kind of a humorous way, but there's a lot of similarities there, and they have issues. They always do, and it's them kind of overcoming those internal strifes that really show and make them a family. They complement each other's weaknesses. So you're definitely getting a lot of that. But I mean, we're not so attached. In no way, shape, or form am I attached to these guys like I am the turtles. So if Raphael were to die, that'd be way different than Crosshair dying. Or Wrecker. Sorry, Luke may cry after laughing if Wrecker makes the ultimate sacrifice, or he turns on them all. Chip activate. He talks to Tarkin. He's like, "Is that all you got?" And Tarkin just flips a switch and just executes him right there.
That's terrible.
I know.
So just to clarify,
yes, them
running from the Empire who wants to literally murder them is not enough drama, and you need more drama. Or you want drama and reconciliation.
It's what we all expect. And I think when you're under those kinds of, when the galaxy is hunting you, it's really going to show your true colors, right? Like, they've faced a lot of, together already, but it's just going to get even harder, especially meeting a resistance, and you have the Empire fight. Like, some of them may not want to join that. It's going to get interesting. I think that makes it more interesting than just, and I'm not necessarily saying bring in Ahsoka, bring in all these characters to make it more. I enjoy when it's kind of familial strife, and I think that's what's so fascinating about the turtles and stuff, because
that makes you feel like you have more at stake.
Exactly.
In the show.
Exactly. Which
That's
is
fair.
Yeah, I don't trust Echo. And, we almost lost him once, and I don't know. He'll do anything to survive.
So he's been compromised, and you think he's a mole?
Absolutely was compromised, but we were led to believe that the Brotherhood brought it back.
As Saw Gerrera would say, he's the leak. Mm-hmm. We have a leak.
Ball Gullet. Bring in Ball Gullet. Can you imagine that thing comes back? We don't trust Echo. Send him to Ball Gullet. That'd be creepy. I never want to see that thing again. It was terrifying.
Yeah, poor Bodhi.
So, guys, I want to know what you think. What are we going to get in the Bad Batch? What are you expecting? What are you looking forward to? Did the trailer intrigue you at all? Get in that Facebook group and let us know what you liked most about it. Could we see a Boba Fett appearance? Is Boba going to find his long-lost sister, Omega? Could she be the finest creation that the Kaminoans nailed it? Oh, it took me a little bit. Could it be their greatest creation? Could she be a Force user? Could she be, who knows? Could she just join that Bad Batch and just, or could she wreck them all? Could she be a mole on the inside? We're going to find out very shortly here, starting May 4th. So looking forward to that. And also, guys, we got that official cast released for Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obviously, our two main stars, Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen, will be making their appearances, reviving those roles. And there's a lot of actors and actresses here that I'm not familiar with. I've seen them in smaller comedic roles, but I'm not too familiar with them. But the two huge surprises, Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen are back, which I did not really see that coming. I kind of expected that we would get some Tatooine scenes, but we wouldn't necessarily be on Tatooine very long. Maybe Obi-Wan's got to go out and distract some Inquisitors, get away from Luke, and we go off to another planet. I don't know. Luke, were you surprised by, oh God, do we have their names? Because I'm not good with them.
Joel Edgerton is Owen, and Piesse is Beru. I can't remember her first name.
Bonnie.
Bonnie, an Australian actress who played both of them played the roles in the prequels. No, that to me, those are the no-brainers in the cast.
Yeah.
If they wouldn't have been on the list, that to me would have been more newsworthy.
Interesting.
I think it just makes sense that they're in here, given the timing of the series being sort of halfway between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. So the more intriguing things, but the harder to really have any idea who they are, or all the other casting announcements about, like, who are these people playing. The one really funny speculation I've heard that I think is most likely not true, but would be really enjoyable if it was, is if Kumail Nanjiani is Kitster, all grown up.
I've heard that, yeah.
Which people just, I think, the complexions of the actors match for the most part, and so people just jumped on that, I think. Again, I think highly unlikely, but God, I love that. I love Kitster lore. Yeah. There's a great, if you look online, wherever like music streaming is, there's a Kitster song by comedian Trevor Moore that is just outstanding.
So good.
I really highly recommend listening to that. But no, lots of like great actors that I've seen in some other things. We talked about the I'm going to butcher her name, the Game of Thrones. Indira Varma. Yes. We talked about her like a week or two ago, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. The big one for me was a crush of my wife's, Rupert Friend from Homeland, among other things. He's got sort of an imperial look about him, everyone's saying and speculating.
I did see something funny. Somebody did speculate that he was going to be like more on the side of the Empire, and somebody was like, excuse me, his name is Friend, not Enemy.
That's funny. Yeah, I do like that.
But yeah, it's great to see Joel and Bonnie there to be Beru and Owen. But it's so hard to even imagine who all these other people are. I mean, it looks like a great mix of all sorts of different people to bring new characters that we've never experienced before.
Can I say something that I love about Star Wars, and I talk about this a lot, is how Star Wars never typically would take really big actors, like big name actors, and throw them in these movies. Yeah. And I know a lot of people fan cast these huge, like, big ticket actors to play their favorite characters, but something I love that Star Wars does is they're like, cool, some of these people have, been in your normal Wednesday night at 7 o'clock TV show, but they're not like household names per se. And I just think it's such a cool thing that these actors get to have that kind of exposure, but also be a part of the Star Wars community. And I hope people are nice to them.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they deserve it. And I don't know, I just think it's so cool because I look at this list and I'm not super familiar with half of them. And I love that.
And that helps kind of allow your mind to escape to that, world out there that absolutely exists.
And also then I'm not thinking like,
is Tom Cruise going to make an appearance or
I'm not like, it's you know, he played Jason Bourne and now he's in Star Wars.
I mean, I would.
That
take
was
Matt
not
Damon in Star Wars.
Matt Damon, but
down.
that's my point is that like you get these characters like really big names and they've been in so many other things and they play a certain character and then you imagine them playing that character in Star Wars and sometimes it throws you off and you don't like it.
I couldn't agree more. I love it that they give, you know, people chances to become household names. And
Can you believe I just forgot Matt Damon's name?
Well,
as I'm talking about household names,
big of a fan.
No, that's not true because
right.
the other night we were in Target and I was like, man, I just want to go home and I want to watch all of the whole Bourne trilogy.
Which shocked the hell out of me, but I was down.
And now I'm
VHS.
like, what's his name? He played.
Yeah,
Jason
he's got a chiseled
Bourne.
jaw, super handsome. Yeah. That's cool. I'd be down for that. I had not heard the Kitster thing, guys. That cracks me up. That actor is really funny, and he's a comedian. I feel like he could bring some of that flair in a Kitster role. Maybe he's in a cantina there on Tatooine. Obi-Wan goes in to have a drink. We know he's known to do that. And this guy's just kind of going off like, can you believe my childhood friend? Like, it's now this, like, he got, like, you know, murdered by the Jedi. Like, I would just love for him to I don't want to make light of that, but like I feel like he could bring some nice humor into Star Wars. We always have to have that. So making some sort of reference to his childhood would be hysterical. I never even thought of that. Sometimes the internet can do great things, and that would be one of them. But I don't know. I don't know why I was thrown off by Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen coming. We've gotten so many good stories about Obi-Wan and his time on Tatooine. I have in my mind how these interactions are going to go, and I kind of expected maybe something different. And then when you're bringing in Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen, you have to believe then we're going to get a 10-year-old Luke Skywalker. So you know someone's cast for that. He's gonna be there. You know, Obi-Wan and him are likely gonna have that many interactions. Luke may be unconscious at the time, but they're gonna. Now that we know those two are back, you're gonna get Luke Skywalker in some capacity. But we've talked a lot about Obi-Wan's time on Tatooine in the comic series, and a lot of it having to do with Qui-Gon. Usually when Obi-Wan's going through his time in his journals, he's speaking to Qui-Gon and saying, here's the things, you know, I want to show Luke, and one day hopefully he'll read this and he'll hear the stories of old Obi-Wan here on Tatooine. And we know Luke does. There's some really great stories there, guys. There's a couple issues that really just focus in the main line, in the 2015 Star Wars main line, that focus on Qui-Gon's time there. And there's one specifically that I think if you're looking to have an idea of where we're going in the Obi-Wan show, go to issue 15 of the 2015 main line and take a look at that one. We've got a young Luke Skywalker, looks like he's around 10, flying a skyhopper dangerously like his dad. Uncle Owen's just, Jesus, here we go. Like he's so much of his father in him. He wrecks the damn thing. And old Obi-Wan's creepily watching him from the hills with his binocs. And Obi-Wan leaves a box of parts outside the Lars homestead, and Luke finds it, and he's like, "What? Thanks, Uncle Owen." Uncle Owen's like, "What are you talking about?" And he leaves him a box of Skyhopper parts to fix his little guy. And Obi-Wan goes back to his hut and hears a knock on his door. There's a sick scene of him using the Force to pull his lightsaber to him to answer the door. Because at this point, Obi-Wan's had some run-ins with some thugs, some Jabba thugs. He's been fighting crime here and there. He's been down on his luck at times, but he's fought these guys. He's protected Luke, just kind of hanging out, behind the scenes. So he doesn't know who's going to approach. He knows he's got some folks that know, they recognize him, and if they find him, it could be some trouble. So he answers the door, and there's Owen. And he is not happy. He is very aware that Obi-Wan left him these parts. So I just want to read you guys an interaction here, because I feel like our actor here, what's his name again?
Ewan McGregor.
Well, Ewan McGregor and Joel Edgerton.
Joel Edgerton.
I feel like he's going to bring it and something like this, and I would love to see this on screen. First of all, Obi-Wan sitting in his hut eating snake stew Which is great.
That's
I feel like it's
disgusting.
something that Yoda would have been eating on Dagobah. Like they're just eating the same thing.
Got the recipe from
Yeah,
Yoda.
right. Send me a recipe through the Force, Yoda. And he's like, well, I got the snake stew. I don't know why he sounded like Herb from,
That's gross.
Freedom of the Guy.
That's not even close.
But, yeah, that was totally off. Bad impression there. But he's eating some snake stew. He hears a knock on the door. Whips out his lightsaber, goes to the door, phrasing. And it's Owen. And he dumps the pile of parts right at Obi-Wan's feet. And he says, you can stay away from my family. And here's the comedic Obi-Wan that I hope we hear a lot. This is going to be a heavy series. So we've got to have some fun moments with Obi-Wan because he is hysterical in the comics. He's like, Owen, please come in. How do you like your snake? And he said, I'm not stupid, Kenobi. Just because I haven't flown across the galaxy like you doesn't make me some sort of ignorant hick. I know what you've been doing. Ever since you showed up, mine is the only house for kilometers that's never been attacked by sand people. That was never raided by Jabba's thugs, because Obi-Wan's been protecting them. And now, suddenly, Jawas are even giving us parts for free. And then Obi-Wan says to him, sounds to me like you've been rather blessed, Owen. The Force works in mysterious ways. And he said, no, you do, you crazy Jedi, but it ends now. The interaction continues on, gets a little heated. Said, I told you I'm not going to let you warp the boy like you did his father.
Ouch.
You brought him to me to protect, and that's what I'm doing, protecting him from you. Obi-Wan says, I'm not asking to train the boy. You've made yourself quite clear on that matter. But Luke has the potential to be something truly remarkable, just as his father was before he, and then Owen gives him a little fist and says, before you got him killed. So Owen doesn't know the full story. And he says, haven't you murdered enough Skywalkers already, Kenobi?
Yikes.
And he continues on. This one's only a boy, a foolhardy boy who's too much like his father as it is. We both know what happens if he ever leaves Tatooine. He won't be coming back. Not alive, at least. And Obi-Wan just puts his head down, ashamed. He said, I only ever wanted to help. And Owen responds, and I believe I've made it clear that we don't want your help. He ends in saying, you're a dangerous man, Obi-Wan Kenobi, whether you see it or not. Trouble always has a way of finding you, doesn't it? Though I suppose it doesn't have to look very hard. That trouble is going to get someone seriously hurt someday. Do us all a favor and keep your trouble to yourself. If Obi-Wan doesn't have enough going on already, he's lost everyone in his life. Owen just has to throw it in his face. He obviously doesn't have the whole story, but he's just trying to do the right thing. And even these kind Lars folks they don't want any part of it. Holly, are we gonna get those types of strong interactions between these two characters? I hope so.
We better.
Right?
That's the drama that you want.
Oh, I can't wait.
Then it would be like a soap opera.
I think that would be fantastic. I don't think we get enough of that. And this is when you're going to see Ewan McGregor at his finest, right? In these moments that he's a fantastic actor, and I feel like you're going to see this is going to be a different Obi-Wan. He himself have already said it's going to be so fascinating to try to blend the Alec Guinness with the Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan. So it's going to be interesting to see how he wants to portray this thing. I think they're going to give him some free range here to kind of do his thing.
Mm-hmm. And I hope that we hear Liam Neeson's voice raining down on us in those dark moments.
I know. So much Qui-Gon. Luke, I feel like since we now know we've got, Owen Lars and Aunt Beru, we got to have some interactions like this, right?
Yeah, this part of the comic from 2015, I ran back through issues 7, 15, and 20. All are these Obi-Wan flashbacks to his time on Tatooine, and it's a great sort of look into what the feel of this Obi-Wan show might be. And I think although the story might be quite different, and I don't think they're going to rip direct things out of this story that we saw in the comics, but I think the sort of the tone and the emotional feeling of the comics is probably close to what we're going to get to a certain degree from Obi-Wan, and Owen for that matter as well. And it all builds off of A New Hope ultimately, in the way that Owen reacts to Luke when he brings up old Ben out there in the Dune Sea. You can tell that Luke's been kept away from Kenobi all these years, that he doesn't know much about him, and it makes sense that that's because Owen views him as a danger. That his half step brother Anakin went off with these crazy Jedi, and look what that got. Look where it got Anakin, that he went off with the crazy Jedi. So, plus in the comics you see like Obi-Wan in a dark place, sort of having survivor's remorse of being one of the only Jedi to have survived the purges. So both those things seem tonally correct to what we're going to get to some degree. Like you have to get in this series, knowing the bookends of the prequels and the original trilogy, it just makes sense that you see Obi-Wan go through some really tough time being isolated in this way. And you've kind of hinted at it, Michael, like you do wonder how much Owen you're going to get, Owen and Beru you'll get, because this series isn't going to be too long. It doesn't sound like. I think rumored 6 episodes. And we also assume not all on Tatooine. You have to kind of, everything Star Wars takes place throughout the galaxy to a certain extent. So you'll see probably them go to different locations, different planets. So it might only be like a 1 episode or sort of a bookend of the series itself, that you see some things on Tatooine with Owen, Beru, and presumably Luke, and then you sort of see it again at the end. But not necessarily throughout. But I think tonally these comics are a great sort of scratch the itch of Kenobi and help you sort of get set in your mind for this series.
Well, let me ask you guys this. So here Owen seems to think that Anakin died. From A New Hope, I mean, he's obviously hiding from Luke who his father truly was, right? But I don't know if we actually fully know at that point in A New Hope what Owen knew about Anakin Skywalker. Could we actually see them, the Lars family, know the true like what truly happened to Anakin, and that may make them, I mean, he's protective right now, but you're telling me this kid has that kind of evil potential? Like, we're not just talking going off and fighting in a dangerous fight because you have Force abilities. We're talking you could be capable of becoming one of the most menacing creatures in the galaxy, and you are his bloodline. That completely sets a different tone. And holy crap, what do we have to do to prevent this from happening? Like, at all costs, we have to shield him from knowing any of this, and for fear that he may follow in that same path, not just go out and get himself killed, but become a terror himself. Holly, is that a possibility?
I mean,
we think they may not have that big of a stake in the show, but maybe.
I don't know. I mean, they have a big enough stake in the show to change what Luke's future could have been. So that's pretty big. But I guess it just depends on like how you're interpreting, like take that comic, for instance, how you're interpreting him saying like you killed his father. Like technically the theme throughout these movies is Anakin is dead and now he's Darth Vader. So, I mean, technically he could know, and that's why he's being super protective, because he just doesn't want the Force in his mind, especially because the Force is so like such like a mysterious like power.
Yeah.
It's very taboo. Like you don't want him like dabbling in the Force and then turning to the dark side or something. And that, you know, so you can interpret it like that, because I feel like that's a really big theme throughout Star Wars. Like, if you die, it can really just be you killing the good in yourself, or someone killing the good in you and turning to the dark side.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And maybe, I guess then we feel like Obi-Wan at this point is going to have to, in this show, it's going to be a huge, I feel like, part of this series is Obi-Wan finding out Anakin survived. He is now this evil presence. And is that something that he's going to want to share with the Lars family? I feel like he's going to want to keep that under wraps for the sake of protecting Anakin's, he is a hero in the galaxy. Everyone, we look at Naboo, the folks revered him. They thought he was awesome. Like, he was a savior of the Republic and sacrificed himself bravely. So to not tarnish that name, Obi-Wan, this may be information Obi-Wan keeps to himself. Luke, what do you think? I mean, is it something that the Lars and Obi-Wan could stumble upon, or is this something Obi-Wan's going to find out himself and say, you know what, boy, that's a whole nother layer of crazy that I just can't put on them?
Well, yeah, that's a great question for Obi-Wan himself. When does Obi-Wan know that Anakin survived Mustafar? How quickly does that occur? Yeah. And then what does he tell the Lars family? Because I think we're going to revisit the moment that he brings Luke to them. When you think about it in Revenge of the Sith, there's no dialogue. Mm. They show at the very end of the movie that Obi-Wan, brings him to the Lars homestead, and they take the baby, and you don't know what explanation was provided about. They obviously know who the baby is because they know he's Luke Skywalker, and they know who his father is. But yeah, what else does Obi-Wan tell them? How much does he tell them? And at what point does Owen push him away and say, like, you shouldn't be a part of this boy's daily life. Yeah. You can live over there. I can't tell you to move off the planet to relocate off of Tatooine, do what you want, but you're not going to be like a part of the boy's daily life. At some point he must tell him that, because one other part of the comic is that Obi-Wan says, I want to train this boy, but the family won't let me. So I think that sentiment must be there for Obi-Wan as well, that he wants to train him, but also a hesitancy from Obi-Wan because of how poorly things ultimately turned out with Anakin and his father. It's that to me, what this series more than maybe any other is going to be just a character study, because to me there isn't too much to reveal in terms of like plot twist, crazy M. Night Shyamalan twist ending. This is taking place in between the most significant parts of this character's story as we know them so far. It's hard to imagine things being bigger than what we saw in Revenge of the Sith or in A New Hope for Obi-Wan. But that doesn't mean it won't be meaningful just to see how the character gets through this giant tragedy that is the end of the Jedi Order, and somehow carries on to be the right influence to set one of the saviors of the galaxy off on the right foot, off on the right path when the time comes. So this is definitely like not it's sort of an answer to that article we had that great episode about this isn't so much about who's going to show up or what plot reveal is there be or what connection is there going to be to these other 3 shows that are coming out, but just let's dig into the core of Obi-Wan. And it's weird in some ways, very parallel to WandaVision, that it will be a story of like an individual dealing with tragedy in many ways.
Yeah, I think that's going to be really good because, you don't always see characters, especially in Star Wars, cope with grief very in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Let's say there's a lot of violence and destruction and fear that comes with grief, but there's never like, we never get to really that acceptance stage with anybody except for maybe Qui-Gon and Yoda.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's just a lot of anger and then fear and violence. So, but we know that Obi-Wan doesn't have the tendency to turn to those emotions. So I think, I don't know, I think it's going to be really great to see that angle.
Yeah. Yeah.
All that being said, I still think we'll see Qui-Gon.
Absolutely.
I hope.
That's the last surprise I think this show has for us. They already came out and said Hayden's in. I think Liam Neeson is the one they're holding on.
I would love that.
And I think we'll get him, but I'm not gonna freak out if he doesn't happen, but I think that's the one reveal.
I do like that. I mean, yeah, Holly, like you said, we've never really seen this side of our characters. I feel like we really tapped into it there in that final fight with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. We're really getting to some emotion, right? And those true feelings coming out about how they care for each other, and that's finally expressed, and then it all comes to an end. But no one's prepared Obi-Wan for it. The Jedi didn't prepare people for this. They didn't, they prepared you to not have any attachments, but not like this. And I feel like Qui-Gon is going to be such an important part. Like I love those short stories that we read about Qui-Gon and at this time period and his interactions with Obi-Wan, and that he really pushed himself in this netherworld of the Force to be there for Obi-Wan. He was lonely, and I think, boy, that would be a completely different side, that we've even seen with those interactions in the past. When Obi-Wan kind of becomes one with the Force, he visits Luke and they have some conversations, but we really, it's not a very sentimental moment. The moment with Yoda and Luke Skywalker on Octo 2, that one gave me the feels, but it was still a moment of teaching. You didn't pass on what you'd learned, failure, folly. Like, these are things that make you stronger and help you learn and grow.
And maybe not everything has to be a lesson. Like, sometimes you just have emotions and you got to work through them.
And I feel like Obi-Wan, we may see that side of him. And it's hard to tell because I don't know. Will that transition well then into A New Hope? I don't know. I think it would, but I think that's a side of Star Wars we've never seen. And like Luke said, that was WandaVision. Yeah. It was a little case study on grief of someone that has these insane powers. Obi-Wan's not that different, but just what a unique opportunity here to tell, a story that we all, like Luke said, there's not going to be any huge reveals here, but that allows you to get in depth. That allows you to make it a little dramatic and a little emotional. Let's tug at those heartstrings here. Ewan McGregor is fantastic, and I think in this role, it's just, I can't wait. Chills just thinking about it. So what do you guys think? Like, are you excited for this? Like, any surprises in this cast list? Are we gonna get Kitster? I mean, is he a little upset that Annie left him alone on Tatooine? Is he just kind of the village drunkard now? That would be terrible. That'd be a sad story for Kitster.
That fermented blue.
I'll say we'll have a while, I think, to speculate.
Yeah.
One of the biggest surprises to me is I had this false assumption that production had already started on this series, but the announcement of the cast basically said it's starting soon, so it hasn't even started yet. So we're looking at, I assume, late 2022 by the time we actually see this thing. So as much fun as this conversation has been, get ready to have it another 15 times over the next year and a half before the show comes out.
That makes me hope the other day my friend Joanna texted me and she was like, did you see that they're just now starting production? I think everyone kind of had that, something came out, or Ewan McGregor made a comment about them filming
I think they're doing some test footage with the kind of the backdrop they were using for the Mandalorian.
Because they were talking about him being on set, and so everyone was like, and even we were like, oh wow, this has already started. That's super cool. And my friend Joanna was like, I thought this was already happening, and then it made me think like, man, I hope that there aren't any like really big leaks in the next year and a half then that kind of ruin that, because it is a long time. Yeah. And I like there to be surprises. Like I like to watch something and just be like, cool, like this is new stuff that I never thought would be in here, or I thought but I didn't know and now I know, you know. So I just hope that it's not so much time that people start leaking things and it kind of ruins it.
I think this is going to be a much bigger production than The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
You know, I know they were doing some kind of test stuff with the technology that they have, but I feel like this is essentially a continuation of episode 3. You know, like Luke said, like we may actually see that interaction and then what happens moments after. Why are you passing this child? Well, let me tell you. Protect him at all. We may hear it needs to feel like a continuation. So I feel like, take your time with it. Let's make it feel organic. If you got to go out and put freaking Ewan McGregor in the desert in some hut, let's freaking do it. A fire. Obi-Wan shows up in the fire like freaking Splinter and the Ninja Turtles. I'm down. Like, let's do it. Darth Maul shows up. You find out they had another confrontation. I hope that doesn't happen.
Okay, here it is. The opening scene to this TV show. It's dark. It's in the desert. There's a figure with a hood on in front of a fire, and he's talking to himself. But then it pans in, and he's not talking to himself. You see the image of Qui-Gon.
Wow.
And it's Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon.
That'd be sick.
Right?
I thought you were going with the Darth Maul angle, which actually...
I thought about... you know me. I thought about it.
I mean, they've had so many interactions together. I know I'm going off on a little tangent here, but they've had so many interactions.
Obi-Wan has held
and
Darth Maul in the desert.
One of the best moments in Star Wars. But I feel like he could be haunting him a little bit. Like, not like, ooh, it's me, Darth Maul. Like, not like that, but like in his mind, he's got a lot going on. So, I mean, it seems odd that maybe we wouldn't have any reference, at least to Darth Maul, but we'll find out. That
I was going more for like the Crazy Ben angle.
We have to see something like that again. Ewan McGregor's, best dragon call. What were those dragons called again? Or the Great Dragons.
I want to see maybe a little bit of, you know how Yoda got a little kooky alone on Dagobah? Yeah. Well, maybe a little kooky Obi-Wan. Yep. He's been just cooking up his snakes all day, all by himself.
That's all he ate.
And paranoid.
Yeah. He said, if I had known that, I'd have prepared myself a little more from just eating freaking snakes too every day.
Poor Obi-Wan.
Miserable life. So, guys, there is so much to speculate on and talk about. But like you guys said, we got a long while, so we'll kind of drag that out. New information will come. When that trailer hits, holy cow, like that's going to be huge. It may just be Ewan McGregor sitting by a fire in the desert, scratching his chin. That may be it. And it just goes black.
It just shows the date that it's coming out.
Chills already. Like, that's insane. I'd be down for that. He's just got the cloak over his head.
I'm by the fire.
Ezra Bridger shows up. What? Okay. Not yet. Not yet. Later on. But yeah, what do you guys think? Like, what are you excited about? We're going to spend months and months and months and months and months talking about this series. So more to come. But cast is official. I like that. We're going to see some, more dropped. A young Luke Skywalker, maybe a Liam Neeson reveal. We're here for it. So let us know what you guys are excited for with the Obi-Wan Kenobi series and the Bad Batch. I want to hear from you guys in that Facebook group. So appreciate you guys listening, putting up with this COVID blur I got going on. I'm short on sleep and I'm sore, but we managed to cast, Holly.
We did it.
We got it done and we're still awake. So I appreciate you guys listening. I appreciate Holly and Luke putting up with me in this craziness, and I appreciate you guys' time. So we love you. Take care of each other out there. Get your shots as soon as you can, and may the Force be with you always.